Hello everyone, welcome to ET Studios, and today we're having a look at KSP Realism Overhaul with Realistic Solar System, and I decided to build an Atlas V 551 and a couple other variants. I just couldn't get my 401 and 501 variants working because the upper stage was so underpowered that it couldn't get into orbit before it re-entered the atmosphere because the first stage was just not powerful enough to get that thing high enough for the RL-10 to spend its time getting into an orbit, even sitting at 45 degrees. But this is my 551, and it does make it into some pretty nice high orbits because I'm not using a very heavy payload. But here we go. We have our nice 5 solid rocket boosters. I don't think these are the exact ones used by the Atlas V, but they're pretty close. The closest I could get without using procedural ones, and they're a bit heavy, so I left those. But yes, this is the variant with 5 solid rocket boosters on the sides, which are now separating, and the 5-meter payload variant at the top, which surrounds the upper stage and the payload. I really like the Atlas V. It's a very interesting launcher. Obviously, it's a bit older compared to some of the other rockets we currently have flying, but it's definitely an interesting one to watch launch, and I just watched the 501 launch of the X-37B, which is a American space plane that they launched for the military, and it was not as interesting as some of the others because they didn't show you very far into flight. They just cut the broadcast after ignition because they don't want us seeing their nice little space plane. So you just saw my little roll program. I know it's in the wrong place, but it's the best place I could do it for the fairing separation to be correct. So there go the fairings, and yeah, it burns for quite a while on that first stage with those RD-180. Well, I say RD-180s, but there's only one with 2 nozzles. But anyway, it takes its time burning, and eventually you have to separate the upper stage. And there are SRBs on the actual Atlas V that pull the first stage away from the Centaur, but I don't actually have those SRBs on this particular version because the way I was filming this with all the semi-realistic camera positions, it separated too fast for me to get the camera into position, so that's why they aren't there, but they are there in my other versions of the rocket. So there we have it. We have separation of the Centaur stage. You have to ignite the second engine pretty quickly. This is the RL-10C, because that's what they use on most of the flights now. That's what they used on the X-37B launch. And yeah, this stage is an absolute pain to build. And you have to get the weight right, the length right, and everything to get it into orbit. You really have to get this thing setting it like 45 degrees, and the burn is much longer than what I just showed. It takes, I think it's a 600-second burn or something to get you into orbit, and then you have another 100 or 200 seconds to circularize on the other side of the orbit. Anyway, it's an absolute mission. You have to sit at 45 degrees and watch your time to apoapsis. That'll slowly decrease, obviously, and usually when you start burning, it'll decrease at 1 second per second. And depending on your luckiness, you will have that time stop at around 2 minutes, but I've had it stop all the way down to about 3 seconds. Then you can slowly flatten out until you're happy with your time to apoapsis versus your fuel remaining and your burn time. And eventually you'll get it into circular orbit, but it does take quite a bit of trial and error to figure out when you can start pitching over again, and it takes a while. I really don't like the upper stage of the Atlas V anymore after doing all of this, specifically the RL-10, because it's such a low-powered engine compared to what it's doing. The first stage definitely does a lot of heavy lifting, and it does most of the Atlas V's work. The Centaur doesn't actually do very much except for just sit there and circularize your orbit. So yes, these are a few little bloopers of my Atlas V. It was interesting to get working, and a couple times it pitched over too much, or whatever. But eventually, I think it's stable enough to the point where I could 95% of the time get a successful launch. If I wasn't using the camera tools or anything, obviously. But all manually done. I didn't use any launch scripts or anything because, well, I'm new to KSP RO and I'm still getting there. So if you have any mod suggestions or things you want me to show you or things you want me to cover in Realism Overhaul, please let me know. I'm really interested in it. I've been playing it for a while. I'm not a crazy expert on KSP, but I'm definitely interested in learning more. So if you have any suggestions or anything, that would be great, and I'd be very interested. So if you'd like to join our community, there's a Discord link below, and if you like the video, please like and subscribe. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.